Hello, How To Bob here, and I have a Toro LX-500, and the blades are not spinning, so I'm going to troubleshoot the issue. I'm going to start out by taking the deck off, and to do that, I remove the cotter pins here, and then push the pin out, one on each side. Just pull the pin straight out, and then I got to lift up a little bit on it to get this pin out, so that the hole lines up a little bit better. And once I get that, I might have to use a screwdriver here to pry it out. Once I get that pin off, the deck will fall right to the ground. And then I go to the back, and there's a little spring-loaded pin here, and that stays on the actual tractor, but I just pull that out on each side, and that'll disengage the deck. The only thing left connected to the tractor is a belt on the front here, which I just remove from the drive pulley, and then I can take off my front bracket and slide the deck out the side of the tractor. Now, to get the deck out from between the two sets of wheels, I have to turn the front wheels to the side just to make enough room for clearance for the deck to come out. And once I get that clearance, I can pull that right out. So I'm going to jack the front of the tractor up. This just makes it easier for me to show you what I'm going to be doing here. I'm going to take the PTO or electric clutch off. You can do some of these tests, and you want to disconnect this first here. You can do some of these tests while the PTO or the electric clutch is on the tractor. You don't have to remove them. I'm going to do that just so that I can show you what I'm doing here. So I'm going to take this plug here off, and then I can remove my clutch all the way. Just loosen that plug up, and then pull the wire back through and pull my clutch out. Now I've got it loosened, and I'll save the bolt here. So here's my electric clutch here. I'm going to clean it out real good. I've got some compressed air, some of the rust and grass clippings and dirt get in the clutch here. So you can see it spins freely when I push down on it, and when it's not engaged, and so it's kind of moving a little bit. So what I'm going to do is connect it to the 12 volt, and when I connect it to the 12 volt, it spins. When the 12 volt is removed, it stops. So it appears the clutch is working correctly. So next thing I'm going to do is check the voltage at the plug, and that should read about 12 to 13 volts. So I just take my voltmeter, and I want to start the tractor up, make sure that it's running, and then once I get my meter, one on each prong here, I want to engage the blades, and you can see it's on and then it's off. There it is, on again, and then we'll turn it off and it goes to 0. So I know I'm getting voltage to my electric clutch or my PTO clutch. So I'm having other difficulties. The blades are not spinning. So let me check one more thing here. I'm going to check ohms. So I set this to ohms, and then I check, and I'm getting a very low ohm reading, which is good. Anywhere from 2 to 6 is good. So my clutch is good, but then I look at my main pulley, my first pulley, and it looks like it's seized up. So I'm going to go ahead and take my pulley off here, and you can see there's a bushing here above the bearing. So I'm going to try to take that out and see what's going on down in there. Let's take a look underneath. I can pull the blade off, and there's my shaft that goes to my blade. I've already got my blades off. So I'm going to work some lubricant in there and see if I can get that part taken off. Flip the deck over so we can work on the bottom side. And you can see it's all rusted around the edges here. So turns out I have a couple, if not all 3 blades that were seized up onto the, well, it looks like this one's okay. This one, however, is seized up. So I've got 2 bearings or bushings that are seized up. So I'm going to tap these and just get them out of there, try and clean them up and see what we can do from there. So they're seized in pretty good. I used a little penetrating oil and just tap it lightly, tap the bearing, or the bushing, I should say, lightly. Don't want to hammer on it too hard here, or else it'll cause a difficulty. And damage the bushing, and just work it back and forth, and that'll work the penetrating oil in by tapping on it. And I can also grab my blade shaft here and work it back and forth inside the bushing, and that pulls it right out. So you can see there's a line of rust around here, and it's rubbing on this pocket here, so it just won't spin here, and that should spin. So it's been a while since I've had this off, so I'm going to clean that out real good with a wire brush all the way around. And it looks like the bearing's spinning, so that's good. But I need to clean this bushing up here with this cover. So I'll sand that off and get that real smooth. There's a line of rust around the top of it that was hitting the actual deck of the mower, and that actually rusted together. And the PTO clutch did not have enough to break free the two blades that were rusted together, apparently. So I just cleaned that up real good. You can see on this one, there's a lot of rust around the edge, and you can get a grinder or a little bit of sandpaper to knock the rust down if you have this same issue here. So I'm just going to clean it off real good, and I'm going to clean out my little pocket here for my bushing. And once I get that cleaned out real good, I'm going to get some grease and smear that in there, work it inside the bearing as well. You can take the bearings out and repack those. I'm going to pack some grease into the bearings, and then I'm going to rub the grease around the outside of my bushing, and you see that it goes in and it spins real freely now. So I'm going to turn the deck over, and I want to hold the blade shaft in place, and then I can put my pulley back on, put the washer on, and then I'll put the nut on top of the pulley, and I'll tighten that down, and it should be good to go now. It looks like it's spinning pretty good here now. So now I can put my blade back on. Same way, I want to start the bolt by hand so I don't cross thread it, and then I can use a power tool. You may want to use gloves if you feel more comfortable using gloves. But now you can see I'm going to go ahead and put the PTO clutch back on here. There's a channel in the clutch and a keyway also, so you want to make sure that everything lines up. And I want to put the spacer washer in first, then I got to line up my channel, my keyway first, next, and push that up onto my drive shaft there for the clutch. And then I can put the nut on, tighten that up, and run the wire back through the correct hole. Plug that back in, make sure it snaps in tight. And you can see the routing of the belt goes all the way around here, and then this is where it's going to connect to the drive, and then it goes around to here. So I'm going to slide the deck back underneath my Toro, and I need to finagle it in between the wheels here, so I have to turn my wheels, and then I'm going to lower the deck setting all the way. That way I can get my back connectors in. It's just a matter of pulling the spring-loaded clips and pushing them into my deck adjustment lever area there. So once I get that in, I might have to lift up on the deck a little bit to get those in, but I do have my deck down as low as it'll go. Then I want to put my belt on the PTO clutch, and there will be some resistance because I've got my idler pulley, spring-loaded idler pulley. So I'll put my bracket on the front now, and I'm going to need to put my pins in next. Just slides in the hole. I can put my cotter pin inside the pin there, and one last pin, and we should be good to do a test run. So I'm going to start the tractor up and turn on the blades, and we'll see what happens. So looks like that works pretty good. So that's how you troubleshoot an LX500. I'm How To Bob. Thanks for watching.